Hello, my positive presence family. This is a Michelle Marie moment, and I'm really excited for the opportunity to share with you a little bit more about some of the personal work that I do to connect with my soul on a regular basis, and a lot of the lessons that I share with my students and our coaches here in Positive Presence. You'll hear. I'm really very grateful and very humbled that one of my greatest teachers, two of my greatest teachers, actually, Sam and Yelena, they are finale for the Positive Soul season. And I asked them to be the finale for a reason, because this lesson that I'm about to share with you that I implement every minute of every second of every day. I learned from the great Sam, who is a shaman and just an incredible teacher, practitioner, spiritual healer. He's just impeccable. And so but definitely listen to the season finale when it comes out after this episode. I want to go a little bit deeper into talking about this practice of finding peace. We talk oftentimes about the more connected we get to that which is within us, the less we need the things that are outside of us. And so a lot of people, start to kind of equate their value and their purpose on all of the things and the titles and the experiences and the people and the accolades and all the things that are outside of themselves. They start to wear these kind of labels, or what we call archetypes. And so, I'm a sister, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, I'm a coach. And we start to kind of run off with these stories. When we have a archetype experience, like for example, when I am a mother, if I have a bad moment as a mother, like I'm a mother to a 7-year-old, and sometimes, she has meltdowns and she's learning lessons, and we have, an interruptions in our relationship, which are very normal. And sometimes, if I were to just if my value was based on that role as my archetype mother, that when those disruptions happen, like I start to feel, when my daughter gets upset, I start to feel like I'm not being a good mother. And so that disruption starts to get me having these kind of negative thought patterns, limiting beliefs that I start to internalize. And thus they impact not only me being a mother archetype, but all the other archetypes that I am as well. Like if I start to feel like I am not doing a good enough job as a mother, all of a sudden I start to find myself thinking sometimes days or hours later that I'm not a good enough business owner. And it's really interesting how those kind of interlink and connect to one another. When we have a limiting belief that was associated because of an archetype, a role that we played, how it really starts to kind of have this trickle effect and negative ripple effect into all the other roles that we play in our lives. And so if we're not set in consciousness, if we're not taking pause to recognize these limiting beliefs, negative thought patterns, these moments that create these patterns of disruption, that they'll start to have this ripple effect outward and then start to go inward. We'll internalize them. It will start to interrupt our peace on a regular basis. This is where anxiety, depression, frustration, fear, all of those things, that darkness starts to kind of like seep into our soul, right? So the practice is recognizing that each role that we play in our lives, mother, wife, student, child, whatever it might be, those are roles that we play. And we can all work on getting connected to our witness. Sam, you'll hear in season finale, he talks about witness as the sovereign, the source energy that exists within you that does nothing. It is the purest form of consciousness that exists within you. And so when the best way to get connected to your witness, this place of peace, is to strip away all of the labels, to strip away all of the things that you think that you are. When everything is stripped away from your body outward, and you are not a sister, you are not a brother, you don't have an age, you don't have a gender, you don't have, like anything that you have to do, have to be, have to see, when you're roles that you don't have to play, what is left over? And so when you can get connected to this witness inside of you, the sovereign, the truest form of pure consciousness that exists within you, you can get connected to peace. Now, there is this whole practice of dropping into a space in your mind. We call it a container, dropping into a container in your mind and connecting with that pure consciousness, peace, presence, sovereign, witness, goes by many names. If you think about your mind as the galaxy, Sam mentions this in season finale as well. When you think about your mind, it is as vast as the galaxy itself. And so we have to have a space where we can kind of like drop into in our mind's eye to do this pure consciousness work to heal all the versions of ourselves. And so when you can kind of create and this is just simply using imagination, imagination is one of the greatest gifts that we have within our consciousness. Envisioning a space where a container where you can drop into in your mind's eye that houses, that stores this practice of connecting to witness, pure consciousness, and having that witness recognize the archetypes that exist, the roles that we play externally. And so you're kind of starting to use imagination to personify your witness inside of you, your container that you drop into in your solar system of a mind. And once you can start to kind of piecemeal and identify, personify these different components of this practice, then you start to have a safe space where you can explore self. That is the beauty of this practice, is that in any given moment, in any millisecond, I could be doing a million things. And in that same millisecond, without having to meditate, without having to stop, without having to pause, I can drop into my mind's eye, into my container, personify my witness, and start to sit with my pure consciousness, my perfect positive presence that exists within me, and connect to the archetypes. That's where I can start to recognize, okay, I'm sitting here in witness. I can start to look around me in my container, in my mind's eye, and I can start to identify the archetypes that exist. What roles do I play that are the external versions of me? Those roles that are external versions of me are also internalized versions that I personify that exist in my container surrounding my witness. Because the beautiful thing is that all these different versions of ourselves are all versions of ourselves internally and externally. So when I am a mother externally, that's a role that I play. That mother version of me exists internally as an archetype. And so when I drop into my container and connect to my witness, and I allow myself to connect with pure consciousness, eliminate all the labels, all the things, all the archetypes for just a second, what that allows me to do is connect to witness and almost expand this understanding and this acknowledgement of the archetypes that exist around me inside of my container. And so I look to my left in my mind's eye in my container, to the left of my witness, I look at and I see my mother archetype. And one of the coolest things about this practice, although esoteric, if you can allow yourself to personify each one of your archetypes, you start to be able to connect with them and have control over them. Because ultimately, we are completely 1,000% in control of ourselves. Everything and anything, how we choose to show up, we are in control of it. How we choose to respond, how we choose to feel, those are all choices. So our witness, pure consciousness, gets to control, support, love, help our archetypes. Although your witness doesn't have to do, say, be anything. All they do is just spread and shine pure love and potentiality and light on all of the archetypes. That's how your witness helps, supports, controls. So when I'm connecting to my mother archetype inside of my container, what I see is I acknowledge her as either, when those things externally are triggered, I can go into my witness in my container and I can acknowledge that my mother archetype is either in light or they're in shadow. And I can start to acknowledge, using personification, this imagination technique, on why What do they look like? How do they feel? What are they struggling with? How do they want to feel? And it encourages them to kind of be this soldier of your being. And it empowers each version of yourself to go out and rise to that occasion of the epitome of that soldier. So I know that I was really I really wanted to talk about this in this season and do a Michelle moment about witness and archetypes and finding personal peace and doing this practice. But for several weeks, as Taya has been getting on me about recording this, I've been a little hesitant because this is really esoteric, hard. It's not hard, but it's seemingly hard, complex, spiritual work. And but I can tell you that as a person who's done the work, despite how hard, quote unquote, it was for me at the time, it changed my life. I'm, instead of being on this roller coaster of emotions where I have high highs and low lows, I have found this level of peace, this level of neutrality. And peace is not just everything's perfect all the time. Peace is a level that I constantly stay at. Nothing pulls me out of peace anymore. I'm no longer on a roller coaster. Now I'm just flowing in water all the time, no matter what is happening around me, impacting me or interrupting my world, my life, my existence. I still, because of this practice, I'm able to just flow in that water, that field that allows me to stay a neutral observer of it, while at the same time constantly working on being the best version of myself in all areas of life. It's still work. Like, you can't just say I'm peace all the time. You still have to do the work. You still have to, soul's having a human experience. So the human side of us has to continue to grow and evolve. And this practice allows you to have both the soul experience and continue to grow and evolve as a human. I know that it is eccentric, and I know that it is esoteric, and know that it is, hard to understand for a lot of people, but the students that I've had that have really kind of risen risen to the occasion of doing this work and have really accepted that, like, okay, this is a practice that I got to get into, and I have to really implement a lot of imagination in order to truly understand it and embody it. Those students, it's changed their life. Kate Jensen, who was one of our, I think she was episode 2 of this season. She was one of the greatest students that I've ever had in this practice. And if you listen to season 2, she'll attest that she healed so much through just the acknowledgement of a lot of her archetypes that were in shadow, giving them permission, like showing them true self-love, and acceptance. So it's a great practice. If any of you would like to learn more about this free of charge, I welcome an opportunity to support you. We have workbooks on archetype and witness. I'm happy to send those to you so you can kind of just do this at your leisure. But definitely, reach out if you're feeling called. Email me at michellemarieonline@gmail.com, and I'm happy to help you. Or you can email Taya, info@positivepresenceglobal.com, and we will do whatever we can to support you if you're really truly feeling called to do this personal discovery work, and you really have an aspiration to find your peace, your inner peace. I promise you that this practice is truly impactful. Thank you again for listening to me and this rant. I really do greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate all of our listeners. Thank you for being a part of our Positive Presence family. To learn more about me or Positive Presence, you can Google Positive Presence Global or Michelle Marie King. And thank you again for your time, energy, and effort. Remember, positivity can only spread when it is present. Talk to you soon. Bye.